Chosen one, as you embark on this journey of intentional gratitude, you are stepping into one of the most transformative practices that can align your heart with divine blessings. Gratitude is not just a passing feeling. It is a deliberate choice that can shift your perspective, your energy, and your very life. Too often, we find ourselves focusing on what is lacking, on what is wrong, or on what hasn't yet come to fruition. But God calls you to something deeper. He calls you to see the abundance in your life, to shift your altitude, and to live from a place of gratitude. When you do this, you open the door to blessings beyond your wildest imagination. At its core, gratitude is a choice. It is a decision to focus on what you have rather than on what you lack. And in that choice, you begin to experience the abundance of God's provision. This is not a call to ignore your struggles or hardships. Gratitude doesn't dismiss pain or difficulty, but it is a call to acknowledge the goodness that God has already poured into your life. When you shift your focus from the empty to the full, from scarcity to abundance, you begin to see the world through a lens of divine provision. And in this new perspective, you open your heart to receive more of what God has already promised you. Gratitude is powerful, chosen one, because it aligns your heart with the heart of God. God is a giver. He is always providing, always blessing, always pouring out His love. And when you practice gratitude, you mirror His heart. You reflect the truth that all you have is a gift from Him, and in that recognition, you are brought into deeper alignment with His will. Gratitude invites God into your circumstances, into the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it opens the door for His transformative power to work in you and through you. You may be wondering, chosen one, how gratitude can truly shift your perspective. It may feel easy to be grateful when things are going well, when you feel blessed and favored. But what about the times when you are struggling? What about the times when life feels heavy and hope seems far away? It is in these moments that gratitude becomes even more powerful. It is in the midst of difficulty that gratitude can elevate your heart, help you shift your mindset, and realign you with God's purposes. Gratitude in hardship doesn't mean denying the pain or pretending that everything is okay. It means choosing to acknowledge that despite the circumstances, God is still good, still faithful, and still present. And in that acknowledgement, you invite His presence into the darkest parts of your life, allowing Him to bring light and healing. When you focus on what you are grateful for, you shift from a mindset of lack to a mindset of abundance. This doesn't just affect how you view your circumstances, it changes your very energy and attitude. Gratitude raises your vibration, chosen one. It aligns you with God's peace and joy even when everything around you is in turmoil. It is a spiritual act that opens the channels of divine favor and provision. The more you choose gratitude, the more you align yourself with the blessings that God is already waiting to pour into your life. But how do you practice gratitude intentionally, day in and day out? It starts with being present, being aware of the many blessings that surround you. It's easy to overlook the little things, to take them for granted, and to focus on the bigger challenges. But the beauty of gratitude is that it can be found in the smallest moments. The smile of a loved one, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the breath in your lungs. When you begin to notice these small gifts, your heart begins to open to the abundance that is all around you. Gratitude is a practice of mindfulness, a practice of being present to God's provision in each moment. One of the simplest ways to cultivate intentional gratitude is through daily reflection. Take a moment each day to pause, to breathe, and to reflect on the things you are grateful for. Whether it's 5 minutes in the morning or before bed, take the time to notice the blessings in your life. You can write them down in a gratitude journal, speak them aloud in prayer, or simply meditate on them in the stillness of your heart. As you do this, you will begin to see a shift in your mindset. What once seemed insignificant will now appear as a gift. The challenges you face will no longer define you, but rather they will become opportunities for growth, faith, and trust. In practicing intentional gratitude, chosen one, you also allow yourself to be present to the goodness of God. Gratitude is a way of acknowledging that everything you have, everything you are, is a gift from Him. It is a way of honoring His provision, His love, and His faithfulness. When you cultivate a heart of gratitude, you invite God to dwell in your life more deeply. You make room for His presence, and in doing so, you experience His peace, His joy, and His divine blessing. God does not withhold His blessings from you, chosen one. He has already given you everything you need, but it is up to you to align your heart with His blessings through intentional gratitude. The more you focus on what you have rather than on what you lack, the more you will see the abundance that God has already provided. The more you choose gratitude, the more you will notice His hand at work in every area of your life. The blessings you once took for granted will become the very things that fill your heart with joy and thanksgiving. You may find, chosen one, that as you practice intentional gratitude, your life begins to change in ways you never expected. The way you view your relationships, your work, and your challenges will shift. You will begin to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You will begin to experience God's peace in the midst of chaos, His joy in the midst of sorrow, and His provision in the midst of lack. This shift in altitude from focusing on scarcity to focusing on abundance will elevate your spirit, your mindset, and your life. Gratitude at its core is a form of worship. It is an offering to God, a recognition of His goodness, and a celebration of His divine provision. Chosen one, as you step into this practice of intentional gratitude, allow it to become the lens through which you view your life. Choose to see the blessings that surround you, no matter how small. Acknowledge the goodness of God in every circumstance, and watch as your heart transforms. Shift your altitude, align yourself with divine blessings, and allow gratitude to open the doors to the abundant life that God has promised you. His love is all around you, and gratitude is the key that unlocks it. Chosen one, as you continue to practice intentional gratitude, you may begin to notice the subtle ways in which negative patterns of thought and emotion begin to hold you back. Gratitude, by its very nature, demands a shift in focus. It calls you to look for the good, to see the gifts in your life that are often overlooked or taken for granted. But in order to truly step into this practice, you must first recognize the negative patterns and thought cycles that have been keeping you stuck. These patterns, whether they be rooted in ungratefulness, comparison, resentment, or fear, create a heavy weight on your heart, and they prevent you from fully embracing the abundance that God has designed for you. The first challenge you face on this journey is recognizing how often you may fall into these negative patterns. The world around you constantly pushes you toward dissatisfaction, toward comparison, and toward feelings of inadequacy. It is easy to fall into the trap of focusing on what is missing, what isn't working, or what you don't have. In these moments, it can feel like no matter how hard you try, something is always just out of reach. But this is where gratitude becomes your tool of transformation. It allows you to lift your eyes from the scarcity mindset and shift toward abundance. But shifting out of negativity is not always an easy task. Negative thought patterns have a way of embedding themselves deeply into your mind, and it can feel difficult to break free from them. You may catch yourself comparing your journey to someone else's, or feeling that you don't measure up to the standards the world has set for you. You may find yourself dwelling on past disappointments, replaying old wounds in your mind, and allowing them to color your perception of your present and future. Recognize this, chosen one. These patterns do not serve you. They keep you stuck in a cycle of dissatisfaction, robbing you of peace and joy. But as you intentionally shift your focus to gratitude, you begin to break free from these cycles. The power of gratitude lies in its ability to rewire your brain, to change the way you view the world, and to transform your thought life. Instead of focusing on what is missing, you begin to focus on what is already there. Instead of seeing what's wrong, you begin to see what is right, what is beautiful, and what is worthy of thanksgiving. To break free from these negative patterns, chosen one, you must first choose to be aware of them. Awareness is the first step toward transformation. When you catch yourself in a moment of comparison, remind yourself that your journey is unique. When you feel frustrated or resentful about your current situation, pause and take inventory of the blessings you have. Gratitude does not ignore the challenges of life, but it helps you see the blessings even in the midst of them. It is a shift in mindset from one of lack to one of abundance. As you choose to become aware of your thoughts, you will begin to notice when the negative patterns arise and can consciously redirect your focus toward gratitude. The second challenge that you may face, chosen one, is the temptation to allow fear to overshadow your ability to be thankful. Fear has a powerful way of distorting your perception of reality. It causes you to focus on what could go wrong, on the uncertainty of the future, and on the possibility of failure. Fear keeps you stuck in a place of hesitation, robbing you of the freedom to fully embrace the gifts and opportunities God has for you. But gratitude is a powerful antidote to fear. When you choose to focus on the goodness of God and His faithfulness in your life, fear loses its grip. Gratitude shifts your focus from what you fear to what you know is true about God, His love for you, His provision, and His guidance. Gratitude helps you trust in God's plan even when the future feels uncertain. It invites you to release control and trust that God is leading you every step of the way. When you focus on the blessings you've already received, you remind yourself that God has been faithful in the past and He will continue to be faithful in the future. Fear thrives in the unknown, but gratitude anchors you in the certainty of God's love. As you grow in gratitude, you will find that your fears begin to diminish, and you are able to step forward in faith, trusting that God will provide for you every step of the way. In addition to fear, there is another common barrier to gratitude that often arises: the temptation to focus on past mistakes or regrets. We all have moments in our lives that we wish we could change, decisions we wish we hadn't made, or experiences that have left scars. When we focus on these moments, it becomes difficult to move forward, and we can lose sight of the blessings in our present life. But gratitude calls you to shift your focus from past mistakes to present mercies. Yes, you may have made mistakes, but those mistakes do not define you. You are not bound by your past, and you are not trapped in regret. God's grace has already covered those moments, and His forgiveness is freely given. Instead of dwelling on the past, you are called to focus on the blessings and lessons that have come from those experiences, knowing that God has used them to shape you and to draw you closer to Him. Gratitude also invites you to let go of self-judgment. You may hold yourself to impossible standards, constantly criticizing yourself for not being enough or for not measuring up to the expectations of others. But God does not see you through the lens of perfection. He sees you as His beloved child, beautifully created in His image. Gratitude helps you shift from self-criticism to self-compassion, allowing you to embrace the person God has made you to be, flaws and all. As you choose gratitude, you begin to see yourself as God sees you, worthy, loved, and full of purpose. And this shift in self-perception allows you to embrace your life with greater joy and peace. As you break free from these negative patterns, chosen one, you will notice a shift in your energy and your mindset. Gratitude, by its very nature, shifts your altitude. It elevates your perspective and aligns you with divine blessings. The more you choose to focus on what you are grateful for, the more your heart will overflow with joy and contentment. This new mindset will begin to transform your life, and you will notice how God's blessings begin to flow more freely into every area of your life. As you step into this new way of living, you will experience the fullness of God's love, peace, and provision in ways you never imagined. Gratitude is not a one-time practice, chosen one. It is a lifelong journey, an ongoing choice to shift your focus and to align your heart with God's divine blessings. Every day you have the opportunity to choose gratitude, to redirect your thoughts, and to embrace the abundance that God has already provided. The more you choose gratitude, the more you will experience the joy, peace, and purpose that come from living in alignment with God's will. So, chosen one, continue to practice intentional gratitude. Let it be the lens through which you see the world, and let it be the foundation of your life. Trust that as you break free from negative patterns and align your heart with God's abundance, you will begin to live the life He has designed for you, a life full of His blessings, His love, and His grace. Chosen one, as you continue on this transformative journey of intentional gratitude, you will begin to notice the powerful spiritual impact that gratitude has in your life. Gratitude isn't just about a shift in your mental outlook or emotional state. It has a deep spiritual significance. It opens the door to spiritual growth, and it helps you connect with the divine presence of God in a way that nothing else can. When you live with a grateful heart, you align yourself with God's will for your life, and you open yourself to the blessings He desires to pour out upon you. This isn't just about feeling thankful. It is about embracing gratitude as a form of worship and an essential aspect of your relationship with God. Gratitude is an act of recognition. It is the acknowledgement that everything good in your life is a gift from God. Every breath you take, every moment of joy, every provision, and every relationship is a divine gift from a loving Creator. When you live with a heart full of gratitude, you begin to see the hand of God in every part of your life. The smallest moments become sacred, filled with God's presence. Gratitude shifts your focus from your own efforts and struggles to the reality that God is always at work around you. It's a reminder that God is intimately involved in your life and that He is constantly blessing you even when you don't see it. The more you practice gratitude, the more you become attuned to God's presence in your everyday life. It's easy to forget that God is with you in the mundane, in the quiet moments, in the times when life feels routine or predictable. But when you cultivate a heart of gratitude, you begin to see that God is in every detail. He is with you in the joy of spending time with loved ones, in the quiet peace of a morning prayer, in the beauty of nature, and even in the moments of struggle. Gratitude opens your eyes to the divine within the ordinary, and in doing so, it deepens your connection with God. Gratitude also fosters spiritual growth. It invites you to reflect on God's faithfulness and goodness in your life. When you stop and take inventory of the blessings you've received, you begin to see how God has been at work in your past, present, and future. Gratitude encourages you to acknowledge the times when God has provided for you, protected you, and guided you. It's a practice of remembering that strengthens your faith and trust in God's continued provision. The more you reflect on God's faithfulness, the more your faith is strengthened, and the more confident you become in His ability to lead you forward. Gratitude grounds you in the truth that God is always present, always faithful, and always working for your good. But perhaps one of the most profound spiritual impacts of gratitude is its ability to draw you closer to God's heart. When you live with a heart full of gratitude, you are worshiping God with your whole being. Gratitude is not just about saying thank you. It's about acknowledging God's goodness, His love, and His sovereignty over your life. When you express gratitude, you are offering a sacrifice of praise, recognizing that all you have is from Him. This act of worship opens the floodgates of God's love and blessing. It creates a space in your heart where God can move freely, where His peace can settle in, and where His Spirit can guide and direct you. As you practice intentional gratitude, chosen one, you will also notice that it brings a sense of humility. Humility is not about thinking less of yourself, but about thinking of yourself less. It is about recognizing that everything you have is a gift, and that you are not the source of your own blessings. Gratitude humbles you, reminding you that you are a vessel of God's love and grace, and that all good things flow from Him. In that humility, you become more open to God's guidance, more willing to serve others, and more ready to accept the blessings He has in store for you. Gratitude shifts your heart from pride to humility, and in doing so, it aligns you more closely with God's heart. Gratitude also deepens your ability to forgive. When you choose to focus on the good in your life Rather than on the wrongs that have been done to you, you create space for healing and reconciliation. It's difficult to forgive when your heart is consumed with bitterness or resentment, but gratitude helps you let go of those negative emotions. When you recognize the goodness that God has shown you, you are better able to extend that same grace to others. Gratitude reminds you of how much you have been forgiven, and in that reminder, it becomes easier to forgive those who have wronged you. The more you give thanks for God's forgiveness, the more you are able to offer forgiveness to others. This is the power of gratitude. It transforms your heart and your relationships. As you begin to understand the spiritual power of gratitude, chosen one, you will also notice how it shifts your perspective on your challenges. Life is full of struggles, difficulties, and moments of uncertainty, but gratitude doesn't deny those challenges. It transforms the way you respond to them. When you choose to focus on God's blessings, even in the midst of hardship, you begin to see the challenges through a new lens. Gratitude allows you to recognize that even in the difficult moments, God is at work. He is teaching you, refining you, and preparing you for something greater. Gratitude shifts your mindset from one of defeat to one of victory, from one of lack to one of abundance. It reminds you that you are never alone in your struggles. God is with you, and He will use everything for your good. The spiritual impact of gratitude goes far beyond a change in perspective. It transforms your entire way of living. It brings you into alignment with God's purpose for your life, opening you up to His guidance, His blessings, and His love. When you live with a heart of gratitude, you experience more of God's peace, more of His joy, and more of His presence. Gratitude is the gateway to a deeper relationship with God. It is the key that unlocks His blessings and invites His love to flow freely into your life. So, chosen one, as you continue to practice gratitude, know that you are not just changing your thoughts or your emotions, you are aligning yourself with the divine. Gratitude draws you closer to God, fills you with His peace, and transforms your heart. It is a spiritual practice that opens the door to deeper connection, deeper love, and deeper blessing. Continue to cultivate a heart of gratitude and watch as God's presence fills your life in ways you never thought possible. Chosen one, as you embrace the spiritual power of gratitude, you will begin to notice another profound effect. It will release you from fear and anxiety. These two emotions, fear and anxiety, have a way of clouding your mind, distorting your perspective, and holding you captive in a constant state of worry. Fear tells you that you are not enough, that the future is uncertain, and that you must strive relentlessly to secure your own safety and success. Anxiety keeps you trapped in a cycle of what-ifs, imagining worst-case scenarios, and believing that you can control everything in your life. But when you choose gratitude, chosen one, you begin to break free from these chains. Gratitude helps you shift your focus from fear and anxiety to trust and peace, allowing God's presence to replace your worry with calm assurance. Fear often arises from a lack of trust in God's plan for your life. It's easy to feel like you are on your own, fighting for control in a world full of uncertainties. You may worry about your future, your relationships, your health, or your financial security. You may feel overwhelmed by the weight of your responsibilities and the pressure to succeed. Fear keeps you in a state of survival, constantly anticipating what could go wrong, always preparing for the worst. But God calls you to a different way of living. He invites you to release your fear and to trust in His perfect plan for you. Gratitude is the antidote to fear. When you choose to focus on the blessings you already have, you begin to recognize that God is always with you, providing for you and working everything together for your good. Gratitude helps you trust that God is in control, even when life feels unpredictable. When you focus on the blessings in your life, you begin to realize how much God has already provided for you. Your focus shifts from what you lack to what you have. Fear thrives in the absence of trust, but when you acknowledge God's faithfulness, your fear begins to dissipate. Gratitude brings a sense of peace, reminding you that you are never alone. God has been faithful in the past, and He will continue to be faithful in the future. You may not always understand His plan or His timing, but you can trust that He is good and He is working everything out for your good. Gratitude allows you to surrender your worries to Him, knowing that He will take care of you. Anxiety, too, is rooted in fear, the fear of what could happen, the fear of what might go wrong. Anxiety tells you that you must control every aspect of your life, that you must anticipate every possibility and prepare for every outcome. But living in this state of constant worry is exhausting and ultimately unproductive. Gratitude offers you a way out. When you choose to focus on the blessings in your life, you begin to shift your mindset from a place of scarcity to a place of abundance. Anxiety thrives when you focus on the unknown, but gratitude allows you to rest in the certainty of God's love and provision. You may be wondering, chosen one, how to begin releasing anxiety through gratitude. The first step is to take a deep breath and focus on the present moment. Anxiety often comes when you project yourself into the future, imagining worst-case scenarios. But in this moment, right here, right now, you are safe. You have enough. You are loved. Take a moment to breathe in the peace of God's presence and allow your mind to center on the blessings that are already around you. It could be the warmth of a cozy space, the love of family or friends, the beauty of nature, or the simple joy of being alive. Gratitude brings you into the present moment where anxiety cannot thrive. When you choose gratitude, you are choosing to live in the peace of now, trusting that God will take care of tomorrow when it arrives. Another way gratitude helps release anxiety is by shifting your focus from what you cannot control to what you can. You cannot control the future, but you can control your response to it. You cannot always control the outcome, but you can choose to trust God with it. When you focus on gratitude, you are reminded of the many things in your life that are within your control, your attitude, your perspective, your actions, your responses. Gratitude empowers you to act with faith, knowing that God is guiding you every step of the way. When you choose gratitude, you choose to let go of the need to control every detail, and you make space for God to work in ways you cannot foresee. Gratitude also allows you to recognize that even in the midst of challenges, God is present. Anxiety can cause you to feel isolated, like you are facing your struggles alone. But when you practice gratitude, you are reminded that God is with you in every moment. He is in the highs and the lows, the triumphs and the setbacks. Gratitude helps you see His hand at work in your life, even when you cannot immediately understand His purpose. When you focus on what you are grateful for, you see God's presence, His faithfulness, and His goodness in your life, even in difficult circumstances. This awareness brings peace as you realize that you are never alone. You can trust God to guide you, protect you, and provide for you no matter what the future holds. As you continue to practice intentional gratitude, you will find that your capacity for peace grows. Gratitude shifts your energy and your mindset. It takes you from a place of fear, worry, and anxiety to a place of trust, hope, and peace. When you focus on the blessings in your life, you create space for God's peace to settle in. His peace doesn't mean that everything is perfect or that life is without difficulty, but it is a peace that transcends circumstances, a peace that guards your heart and mind. This peace comes from knowing that God is in control and that you are safe in His care. When you make gratitude a practice, you invite this peace into every part of your life. Gratitude also shifts your perspective on hardship. It's easy to fall into the trap of viewing challenges as obstacles or burdens. But when you practice gratitude, you begin to see difficulties as opportunities for growth, learning, and trust. Gratitude allows you to view your struggles through a new lens, one that recognizes God's presence in the midst of the storm. When you are grateful, you trust that even in the midst of hardship, God is working everything together for your good. Gratitude shifts your perspective from seeing struggles as setbacks to seeing them as stepping stones in your journey. Chosen one, as you continue to practice gratitude, you will find that fear and anxiety lose their hold on you. Gratitude shifts your altitude. It takes you higher into a place of trust, peace, and divine alignment. It frees you from the burden of worry, allowing you to live in the freedom that God has designed for you. When you focus on God's goodness, His provision, and His love, you align yourself with His divine blessings. And in that alignment, you will experience the peace and joy that only God can provide. Chosen one, as you continue to embrace intentional gratitude, you will begin to realize that gratitude is not merely a reaction to your circumstances. It is, in fact, an act of worship. Worship is the act of giving honor, adoration, and reverence to God for who He is and what He has done. Gratitude is a powerful form of worship because it acknowledges the goodness of God in every aspect of your life. It is a way of saying, God, I see you at work, I recognize your provision, and I honor you for it. When you express gratitude, you are offering your heart to God in worship, acknowledging that every good thing in your life is a gift from Him. But here's the beautiful truth, chosen. One, gratitude as worship is not confined to a church service or a specific moment of prayer. It is something that can be woven into every part of your life. It is not just a one-time act, but a lifestyle of continual praise. When you live with a heart of gratitude, everything you do becomes an act of worship. Whether it's caring for your family, serving others, working in your job, or simply enjoying a quiet moment of peace, each moment of gratitude is an offering, a chance to acknowledge God's presence and goodness in your life. You might be wondering, chosen one, how can gratitude be worship in the mundane moments of life? After all, not every moment feels like an opportunity for praise. But this is the power of intentional gratitude. It helps you see God's hand in everything. It invites you to recognize the sacredness of the ordinary. When you choose to practice gratitude, you are turning even the smallest moments into an opportunity to honor God. A cup of coffee in the morning, a phone call with a friend, a walk in nature, each of these moments can be infused with worship when you approach them with a heart of thanksgiving. It is not the moment itself that makes it worshipful, but the intentionality with which you approach it. You make the choice to recognize God's goodness in it. Living with gratitude as worship also aligns your heart with God's purposes. When you thank God for what He has done, you are acknowledging that His provision is more than just for your benefit, it is for His glory. Every blessing you receive is an opportunity to point back to Him, to show the world that He is the source of all good things. The more you practice gratitude, the more your heart shifts from a focus on your own needs and desires to a focus on God's greatness and His work in your life. Gratitude helps you align your will with His acknowledging that all things, both good and difficult, are part of His greater plan. But there's more to gratitude as worship than just acknowledging God's blessings. It is also about acknowledging God's presence in your life, no matter your circumstances. Worship isn't just reserved for moments when life is going well. It is an expression of trust in God, even in the midst of pain, uncertainty, or hardship. When you choose to be grateful, even when things aren't perfect, you are declaring your trust in God's character. You are saying, even though I don't understand everything, even though I may be walking through a storm, I trust that you are good, and I thank you for being with me through it. This is what makes gratitude such a profound act of worship. It isn't based on your circumstances. It's based on who God is. When you give thanks, you are honoring God's faithfulness, His love, and His provision, no matter what your current situation may look like. Gratitude then becomes a declaration of your faith in God's goodness, even when you can't see it in your circumstances. It's a trust that God is working, that He is present, and that His love will never fail you. Gratitude also opens your heart to deeper intimacy with God. It's easy to go through life taking things for granted, but when you choose to stop and acknowledge God's blessings, you create space for deeper connection with Him. Gratitude invites you into his presence in a personal way. It allows you to speak directly to him, to acknowledge his love for you, and to receive the peace that comes from knowing that he is near. When you express gratitude, you are inviting God into every area of your life, not just the big moments, but the small ones too. You begin to recognize that he is with you in every part of your day, not just when you're praying or reading the Bible, but also when you're living out your daily tasks. Gratitude is the key that opens the door to greater intimacy with God. It deepens your relationship with him, helping you to see his presence in every moment. And as you grow in gratitude, you will begin to notice a transformation in your heart. Gratitude shifts your focus from the self-centered mindset that often dominates our thoughts to a God-centered perspective. It helps you to see the world not through the lens of what you lack, but through the lens of God's abundance. You begin to notice how God is providing for you in ways that you may not have seen before. Your heart becomes more attuned to his voice, more aware of his guidance, and more open to his love. But chosen one gratitude is not just for your own benefit, it also blesses the people around you. When you practice gratitude, you are not just changing your heart, you are changing the atmosphere around you. Gratitude is contagious. When others see the peace, joy, and contentment that come from your grateful heart, it will inspire them to reflect on the blessings in their own lives. Gratitude draws people closer to God because it points them toward his goodness and his provision. When you choose gratitude as worship, you become a beacon of light in a world that desperately needs to see God's love. Your life becomes a testimony to the power of gratitude, and your actions speak louder than words. In this way, gratitude becomes an evangelistic act. It is a way of spreading God's love to the world simply by living a life that is thankful for his blessings. As you reflect God's love in your heart and in your actions, others will be drawn to the hope that you carry. Gratitude transforms not only your own heart, but also the hearts of those you encounter. So, chosen one, continue to live with intentional gratitude and let it become your act of worship. See every moment as an opportunity to acknowledge God's goodness. Let gratitude shift your perspective, elevate your spirit, and draw you closer to God's heart. As you live with a grateful heart, you will experience the divine blessings that God has waiting for you. And through your gratitude, you will not only transform your own life, but also be a vessel of God's love to those around you. Chosen one, as you continue to live intentionally with a heart of gratitude, you will begin to notice something truly powerful. Your life will align more closely with God's divine will and purpose for you. Gratitude is not merely a practice of acknowledging blessings. It is a spiritual act that opens your heart to God's leading, guiding you into deeper alignment with his plan. When you cultivate a heart of gratitude, you begin to step into your true calling, because gratitude realigns your mind, heart, and actions with the divine purpose God has laid out for you. It is in choosing to be thankful for what God has already provided that you begin to see more clearly the path he has designed for you and the blessings that lie ahead. This alignment begins when you stop focusing on what you don't have and instead choose to be present with what you do have. Gratitude shifts your attention away from the missing pieces of your life and directs it to the gifts already in your hands. This shift is pivotal because it brings your heart into alignment with God's provision, his promises, and his perfect timing. It reminds you that what you need is already within reach and that God has equipped you with everything necessary to fulfill your purpose. Gratitude isn't just about being thankful for what is easy to see. It's about recognizing the divine provision in your life, both in the small and the large, the seen and the unseen. It opens your eyes to the truth that everything is working together for your good, even when you can't fully see how. When you align yourself with gratitude, chosen one, you begin to trust in God's timing rather than your own. The world will tell you to rush, to strive, to push forward with your plans and goals. But God's way is different. His timing is perfect, and his provision is always on time. Gratitude helps you to relinquish your need to control everything, to speed up your progress, or to force things to happen according to your own timeline. When you are grateful, you acknowledge that God's timing is far superior to yours, and you surrender your impatience and expectations to His wisdom. Gratitude in this way becomes an act of surrender. It is a recognition that the outcome is in God's hands and that He is working things out for your benefit. When you truly embrace gratitude, chosen one, you also learn to trust that God's plans are always better than your own. You may not always understand why certain things happen, why prayers seem unanswered, or why certain doors remain closed. But when you choose gratitude, you choose to trust that God's ways are higher than your ways. You embrace the truth that He sees the bigger picture, and He knows exactly what you need when you need it. Gratitude is a declaration of trust in God's sovereignty over your life. It is saying, I may not understand, but I trust that you are good and that your plans for me are perfect. This trust leads to alignment with God's divine will. When you trust in God's timing and plans, you align yourself with the destiny He has set before you. Gratitude opens the door to God's guidance because it shifts your focus from striving and struggling to listening and trusting. It allows you to let go of the noise of the world and to hear God's voice more clearly. When your heart is full of gratitude, you create space for His direction to enter your life. You stop trying to push things forward on your own and begin to follow His lead. Gratitude also helps you move forward in faith even when the way ahead seems uncertain. When you focus on what you are grateful for, you shift your energy from fear to faith. Instead of worrying about what you don't have or what may go wrong, you trust in God's provision and His ability to lead you through any challenge. Gratitude grounds you in the present, but it also propels you into the future with confidence. It reminds you that you are not alone. God is with you, leading you every step of the way, and His plans are far greater than anything you could ever imagine. As you align yourself with God's purpose through gratitude, you will begin to notice that the things you once struggled to achieve or accomplish are now coming more naturally. When your heart is aligned with God's will, everything you do is in sync with His perfect plan. You will begin to experience a flow of ease and joy in areas where you once experienced friction and struggle. This alignment is a sign that you are walking in the path God has set for you. Gratitude clears the way for His blessings to flow freely, and you will find that your life begins to reflect the divine favor He has always intended for you. Chosen one. Remember that the practice of gratitude is not just about getting what you want. It's about recognizing that you already have everything you need. This shift in perspective changes the way you live, the way you pray, and the way you trust. When you start from a place of gratitude, you are already aligned with God's blessings. You are not waiting for the next thing or the next breakthrough. You are already experiencing His provision. Gratitude allows you to see the goodness of God in your life right now, rather than waiting for future circumstances to validate His love. But it doesn't stop there. When you live with gratitude, you begin to attract more of what you are thankful for. Gratitude aligns you with divine blessings, and as you focus on the abundance you already have, more abundance will come. This isn't about material wealth alone. It's about a richness of spirit, a depth of peace, and a sense of divine purpose. Gratitude aligns your heart with God's will, and in that alignment, you are open to receiving more of the blessings He has in store for you, whether they are financial, relational, or spiritual. One of the most powerful aspects of aligning your heart with God's will through gratitude is the peace that it brings. There is a deep sense of peace that comes when you trust God with everything, your past, your present, and your future. Gratitude brings you into that peace. It removes the anxiety, the worry, and the frustration that often come from trying to control your circumstances. When you align yourself with gratitude, you surrender your need for control and trust that God is in control of your life. His peace flows in replacing the fear and uncertainty that once held you captive. So, chosen one, embrace this divine alignment through gratitude. Let it be the key that unlocks the door to God's blessings, guidance, and peace. Align your heart with His will. Trust in His timing and open yourself to the abundance that He has already prepared for you. Gratitude is the pathway to walking in the fullness of life that God has designed for you. You are already blessed, chosen one. Now choose to see those blessings, to live in them, and to align your heart with the divine will that has always been at work in your life. Chosen one, as you continue your journey toward a life filled with intentional gratitude, you will begin to realize that gratitude is not just a state of mind. It is a way of living that shapes your entire existence. When you make gratitude a daily practice, it becomes the lens through which you view every situation, every relationship, and every challenge. It transforms your perspective, guiding you toward a life of peace, purpose, and abundance. But as with all spiritual practices, the key to maintaining a heart of gratitude lies in consistency. The more you commit to living a life of gratitude, the more you will experience its transformative power in your everyday life. One of the most significant shifts that occurs when you cultivate intentional gratitude is the change in your relationships. Gratitude has the power to heal and strengthen the connections you have with others. When you live with a heart full of gratitude, you begin to see the goodness in others more clearly. You notice the small acts of kindness, the love that is offered to you, and the ways that people show up for you. Gratitude shifts your focus away from the shortcomings and flaws of others and opens your eyes to their strengths, their beauty, and their efforts. You begin to appreciate the people around you for who they are, not for what they can do for you or how they meet your expectations. This shift in perspective deepens your connections, fostering love, respect, and mutual understanding. Gratitude also strengthens your ability to forgive. When you focus on the blessings and the goodness that others bring into your life, you create a space for forgiveness to flow. It's easy to hold on to grudges and resentment, especially when we focus on the wrongs that others have done to us. But when you practice gratitude, you begin to let go of the bitterness and anger that hold you hostage. Gratitude reminds you that just as you have been forgiven by God, you must extend that same forgiveness to others. Forgiveness is not always easy, especially when you've been hurt deeply. But gratitude softens your heart, making it easier to release the past and choose peace. When you choose gratitude in your relationships, you begin to show up for others in ways that reflect God's love. You become a vessel of His grace, offering encouragement, kindness, and compassion. Your gratitude becomes a reflection of God's love for you, and it spills over into every interaction. The more you choose to be grateful, the more you will find yourself becoming a source of blessing to others, radiating the love and peace that God has poured into you. Gratitude transforms your relationships, turning them into places of healing, growth, and connection. But the impact of gratitude goes beyond just your relationships. It also transforms your attitude toward life itself. Gratitude shifts your mindset from a place of lack to a place of abundance. It helps you see the blessings in your life that might otherwise go unnoticed, the small, everyday gifts that often get overlooked. You begin to appreciate the simple joys, the warmth of the sun on your face, the sound of birds singing in the morning, the beauty of a smile, the comfort of a home, and the peace of stillness. Gratitude opens your eyes to the beauty of life even in its most ordinary moments. You realize that you are surrounded by gifts, God's gifts, that you can embrace and celebrate every day. This shift toward abundance, chosen one, changes how you respond to challenges. Life is not without its difficulties, and there will be times when you face struggles, disappointments, and obstacles. But gratitude helps you face these challenges with a new perspective. Rather than focusing on what you don't have or what is going wrong, you choose to focus on what you do have and how God is working in your life. Gratitude shifts your focus from the problem to the solution, from the lack to the provision. When you live with a heart full of gratitude, you trust that God is with you even in the midst of the storm. You know that He is using every circumstance for your good, and that even in your challenges, He is working to shape you into the person He has called you to be. Gratitude also changes how you approach your own personal growth. When you are grateful for the journey you are on, for the lessons you've learned, and for the opportunities that have shaped you, you begin to see the value in every experience, whether good or bad. Gratitude helps you embrace the process of growth, knowing that each step brings you closer to the person God has destined you to become. You begin to view challenges as opportunities for growth, failures as lessons, and setbacks as stepping stones toward success. Gratitude enables you to view your life not through the lens of fear or regret, but through the lens of faith and trust in God's perfect plan. It's important to note, chosen one, that gratitude is not always easy, especially when life feels overwhelming or when your circumstances seem to be working against you. There will be times when it feels hard to find anything to be thankful for. But this is where the power of intentional gratitude comes in. Gratitude is a practice that requires effort, consistency, and trust. It is not based on how you feel in the moment, but on a decision to focus on what you can be thankful for no matter what you are facing. This decision to choose gratitude even when it's difficult shifts your heart and mind toward God's goodness, and it allows His peace to flow into your life. In those moments of difficulty, remember this: God is with you. He is working in you and through you even when you can't see the outcome. When you choose gratitude, you choose to trust in His plan, to trust that He is using everything for your good. Gratitude reminds you that God is faithful, that He is in control, and that He will never leave you. It is through gratitude that you learn to walk by faith, trusting that no matter what the future holds, God is already there preparing the way. Chosen one, gratitude is a practice that will transform your life. It will elevate your spirit, deepen your relationships, and align your heart with God's divine will. As you continue to choose gratitude every day, you will notice a shift in your life. You will experience more joy, more peace, and more fulfillment as you align your heart with God's blessings. Gratitude will help you see the abundance of life that God has provided and will enable you to step into your purpose with confidence, peace, and a heart full of love. Remember, chosen one, that gratitude is not just a feeling, it is a way of living. It is a way of seeing the world through the lens of God's love and provision. As you continue on this journey, let gratitude be the foundation of your life. Let it guide your thoughts, your actions, and your relationships. And in doing so, you will experience the fullness of life that God has promised you, with a heart that is aligned with His divine blessings. Chosen one, as you come to the final step of this transformative journey, you will find that intentional gratitude is not just a practice. It is a way of life, a lens through which you see the world, and the lens through which you experience the fullness of God's blessings. In the previous sections, you have learned how gratitude shifts your perspective, elevates your heart, and brings you into deeper alignment with God's divine will. But now you may be wondering how to carry this practice into the everyday rhythms of life. How do you maintain this posture of gratitude when the world around you pulls you in countless directions? How do you ensure that gratitude becomes a part of your DNA, woven into every thought, word, and action? The answer lies in living a life of intentionality. Chosen one, intentionality is key to maintaining gratitude. It's about making the choice day after day to live with an open heart, to choose joy, and to acknowledge God's goodness in every moment. It's about choosing gratitude in the mundane, in the ordinary, in the quiet moments that are often overlooked. Intentional gratitude does not depend on external circumstances. It is a decision you make no matter what you are going through. This means that even in hardship, you choose to focus on what you have rather than what you lack. Even in struggle, you choose to see God's provision, to acknowledge His presence, and to trust that He is with you, guiding you toward your destiny. Living with intentional gratitude means also being mindful of your thoughts. Our thoughts have the power to shape our emotions and actions, And when we are not careful, it's easy to slip into a negative mindset. But when you actively choose to replace negativity with gratitude, you invite peace into your life. Each time you find yourself dwelling on what's wrong or what's missing, you can counteract those thoughts with reminders of what is good. This practice of intentionally thinking about your blessings, no matter how small, will slowly shift your mental and emotional state. Over time, your natural default will no longer be fear, doubt, or worry, but gratitude and trust in God's provision. You will learn to see each moment through a divine lens with eyes open to God's goodness and His work in your life. Another key to maintaining intentional gratitude is to be present in each moment. We often spend so much time thinking about the past or worrying about the future that we miss the blessings that are unfolding right in front of us. Gratitude requires presence. It requires you to stop, breathe, and appreciate the moment you are in. Whether it's the sound of the birds outside your window, the warmth of the sun on your face, or a shared moment of laughter with a friend, gratitude asks you to notice the beauty that surrounds you. When you live with intentionality, you are able to live in the present moment, experiencing life fully and appreciating the gifts that God has given you in each moment. This awareness also opens the door for deeper connection with others. As you practice gratitude in your relationships, you begin to see others in a new light. You begin to appreciate their presence, their kindness, and the unique ways they contribute to your life. The more grateful you are for others, the more you foster love, empathy, and understanding in your relationships. Gratitude shifts your perspective on conflict as well. Instead of focusing on what is wrong, you begin to see how God can work in and through your relationships, turning struggles into opportunities for growth. Your gratitude will help you forgive, heal, and deepen your connections with the people around you, and it will allow you to extend grace just as God has extended grace to you. But even as you practice gratitude in the midst of relationships, chosen one, it is essential to remember that this is a two-way exchange. Gratitude isn't just about acknowledging what you receive, it's also about offering gratitude to others and to God. When you extend gratitude to the people around you, you are participating in a beautiful cycle of love. You are giving and you are receiving. This cycle of gratitude opens your heart, creating space for more love and more blessings. It's not about keeping score or seeking recognition. It's about truly appreciating those around you and expressing that appreciation in words, actions, and attitudes. Living with intentional gratitude also means acknowledging the spiritual abundance you already possess. Chosen one, you are rich in spiritual blessings. You have access to God's love, His wisdom, and His grace at any moment. When you intentionally practice gratitude, you recognize the spiritual wealth you have in Him, the peace that surpasses all understanding, the joy that is not dependent on circumstances, the strength that comes from God's Spirit. These are the blessings that you can thank God for every day. Gratitude is a reminder that even when external circumstances don't seem to align, you are already filled with everything you need. You are secure in God's love, and that is enough. As you continue this journey of intentional gratitude, chosen one, you will discover that it shifts your identity. You will begin to identify not with the struggles or the hardships you faced, but with the abundance that God has already given you. Gratitude shapes the way you see yourself, reminding you that you are a beloved child of God, worthy of His blessings, love, and peace. The more you practice gratitude, the more you will embody the truth of who you are. In Christ chosen, loved and blessed beyond measure. This identity in Christ is unshakable, and it empowers you to live a life full of purpose, peace, and joy. This intentional practice of gratitude also serves as a witness to the world. In a world that often focuses on scarcity, comparison, and discontent, a life of intentional gratitude stands out. It reflects the love, joy, and peace that God has promised to those who walk in His ways. When others see you living with a heart full of gratitude, they will be drawn to the source of that joy, God Himself. Your life becomes a testimony to His goodness and His faithfulness, and your gratitude serves as an invitation for others to experience the same peace, love, and abundance in their own lives. Finally chosen. One, remember that living with intentional gratitude is not about perfection, it is about consistency. It's about choosing gratitude even on the days when it's hard. It's about seeing the blessings even when they feel small or insignificant. It's about offering thanks even when the circumstances don't seem to line up. And in doing so, you will experience the abundant life God has promised you. A life of peace, a life of joy, and a life of purpose. Gratitude shifts your heart, your perspective, and your life. It realigns you with God's purpose and invites His blessings into every area of your existence. So continue to choose gratitude every day, chosen one, and watch as your life transforms into a beautiful reflection of His love.